home station in Bluefield, West Virginia. This is the second squad of the 1st platoon of the 304th. This was my squad, especially at AP Hill. This is at our living quarters at our barracks at AP Hill. This is some of the guys in the barracks looking at some of the stuff that people from the area had sent down to us. This is Sergeant Burgess receiving mail at AP Hill. This is with some of my field gear getting ready for training at AP Hill. This is out on some of the ranges at AP Hill, getting ready to practice firing different weapons. It's very cold in the month of January to train in, but this is at Langley Air Force Base, where we are in a holding area getting ready to go over to Saudi. These are some of the people from Hampton. Most of them have worked for Pembroke Construction, who came over to serve us food and pizza and stuff. This is a cake they made us. It has cherries and blueberries in it. It's a beautiful piece, beautiful cake. There we are again in the holding areas, waiting to deploy. More shots of people in the area. We had to stay about 4 hours, and we left out in 2 different segments. This is a picture taken by the door of the SELT fighters at Langley. There we are again. They took us out to eat and then brought us back into the hangar. There we are back at AP Hill, cleaning weapons and stuff, getting ready to deploy. This is on the C-41 going over to Saudi. As you can see, we were packed on the planes. We had very little space for the 20-hour flight. We were kind of packed in and had a lot of our cargo in the back. This is 1st platoon of the 304th in the desert. This is at Dhahran at the airport there, taking and unloading cargo. This is a picture of the C-41 that we came over on as we sat on buses getting ready to leave out. This was a picture taken from a bus of the fighter jets along the runway. This is a picture of Khobar Towers, where we stayed at the first 4 or 5 days in Saudi. We also came under Scud attack 3 different nights while we were there. These were beautiful buildings built by the Germans for the Saudis, and after they had them completed, they didn't want to move into them. But they've sat vacant for 8 years before we came over. Sergeant Woolley, Mess Sergeant, standing up there. Sergeant Willie Noble and Sergeant Trett, Woolley, and I think Sergeant Kirby. That was the water tower at Khobar Towers. These were beautiful apartment buildings with marble and beautiful woodwork in them, and the Saudis had some belief about not wanting to live over top of one another. As you can see, they had all the modern conveniences in the buildings, but they prefer to live out in the desert. At the bottom of those buildings there, you can see there's a parking lot down below it and a playground on top of it. More pictures of the buildings. There we are, getting ready to load up and move out, starting to walk off for myself. These are, I think, Pakistanians who were working for the Saudis over there. They hire a lot of help to come in because most of the Saudis don't work. These are pictures of the desert. In the evening, it really would be beautiful with the sunset in the background. And the sand's different colors in different areas. This is a good picture of a desert storm, sandstorm hitting. As you can see, visibility wasn't very good. More pictures of the deserts. That's a picture taken at the top of a fighting position in an ASP down in Dhahran we had to guard. Some of the buildings, well, that's a mosque building, the little prayer tower to the front of it there in Saudi. You'd think the sand would absorb the rainwater, but it wouldn't. It'd stay on top a lot. This is a picture taken of Haifa al-Batin, a town that our POW camp was located near. This is a desert picture of the Desert Storm moving our way, taken from a vehicle. As you can see it picking up. A picture taken of downtown at night that lighted a lot of the stores up. It's another picture of it. It kind of looked like a carnival in a lot of places, the way they put the lights around it. This is a building in Haifa al-Batin where a Scud did hit and hurt, wounded 2 people. More debris and destroyed vehicles around where the Scud hit. A picture around Haifa al-Batin, just outside of the town. The Saudis would try to make American flags and stuff and fly on their vehicles some. Downtown Haifa al-Batin. More pictures of the downtown. You can see the children going across the street. Taken right outside of one of the townships. This picture was taken, I was trying to take a picture of a lot of Saudi women dressed in black in the center part. Notice the walls around some of their buildings to keep the sand down. A filling station. Another filling station. If you had to buy fuel, you could buy it for about 30 cents a gallon in our money. That's taken of a little ancient village near Riyadh. Kind of reminds you a lot of Jerusalem. Pictures of it. Pictures of an ancient fort from the 15th century. there's a sign telling a little about it. It was all fenced in. That was taken at an ASP near Daharan, where we had to guard it one night. It's overlooking the ASP. One of the scuds did come down just right outside the ASP the night before we went there. It's myself and Sergeant Walkoff standing over top of one of the bunkers. These are some of the other guys that were with us that guarded were on some of the fighting positions around the ASP. As you can see, it was very cold that day and that night we were there. That's the vehicle Sergeant Walkoff and I used to go around and check on the people on the positions. Some of the camels out in the desert, see them along the roads a lot. A man in downtown Haifa al-Batin. Another Saudi man. You can't make it out, but this man here has kind of a red beard. More Saudis. One's got him a pair of blue jeans there. He's quite proud of. Sergeant Thornton with a couple of Saudi children. The children a lot of times would give us a V symbol when they'd see us on the streets, which stood for victory. Two Saudi boys, friends, it was common for the Saudis of the same sex to walk down the street holding hands. This man does have a red beard. Two storekeepers in Haifa al-Batin. Children with a bicycle in Haifa al-Batin. Boy keeping a store in Haifa. Also is a Saudi Arabian soldier to your right. Specialist Dirks with some Kuwaitis. They were very happy with it. Sergeant Thornton with some Saudis down on the Persian Gulf. The mall down in Daharan, they were much more westernized down in Daharan. Some of the roads down in Daharan. Even though they were more western, they would close 4 or 5 times a day to shop. Specialist met us with a British soldier doing some what they call swaps, trading. This is Sergeant Thornton and with some French troops. The British troops and myself with a camel. They'd haul their sheep, and on some occasions, very rarely, you'd see them, they'd be hauling a camel in the back of a truck. Imagine the farmers over there. Sergeant Walkoff with some British troops. That's Sergeant Walkoff with some French troops. And myself with the same French soldiers. They were French paratroopers. These pictures of 3 Saudi soldiers. Myself with 2 Egyptian soldiers outside the Fa Hotel in Haifa al-Batin. Myself with 2 more Egyptian soldiers. These 2 are officers. Specialist Harless and Hodges, myself and Sergeant Walkoff with a black British soldier. This is myself with 2 Czechoslovakian soldiers. There's very few of them there. And also, these are Bangladesh soldiers with Sergeant Walkoff and myself. These are 2 British nurses. There was a British nursing team out in the desert there. Also more pictures of the British. They were more lax. They were farther out in the desert, and they'd spend quite a bit of time sunbathing sometimes. Where the British nurses out sunbathing. Three Saudi men in downtown of one small town we went through. These are 2 British soldiers that traded a lot with us. They're wearing American uniforms now. This is a Saudi who's fishing on the Persian Gulf. This is Captain Starnes meeting Prince Bandar, King Fahd's nephew. This is a picture of myself with Prince Bandar, which Prince Bandar didn't come out in this picture. There he is eating dinner with us. Prince Bandar has a home in San Francisco, and now I think he's special ambassador to the United States. Myself and some of the others downtown Hofalbaten, I'm smoking a Havana cigar. This is an outfit I bought over there, and a picture of Sergeant Burgess there. This is Sergeant W.C. Houston and Sergeant George Houston. They work at the Radford Arsenal with me. There's some of the other guys from our area, from Wythe County and Montgomery County and Blaine County. The Houstons again, myself. This is myself with some children over in Saudi. A lot of times we'd carry pop and candy to give to the children, and they, just like most kids of the world, they enjoyed that we gave them candy and stuff. Probably tell I hadn't shaved in a few days. This is myself with some more children in a store there that I'd given some candy to. Notice behind me the mother is wearing black. More children in Hofalbaten. Myself and a female American soldier with some children. They thought of the Americans as heroes. If you look, the child in the center's got American flags sewed on her shirt there. Sergeant Walkoff and myself. Sergeant Walkoff with some more children. This is a pretty little girl in downtown Hofalbaten. If you'll notice, she's got a bracelet on her left hand made of gold. And this one has gold on her wrist too. They start buying them gold when they're real small, the little girls. They would bring their little children up to you too and want you to hold them. As I said, they thought Americans as heroes. Two American women and myself with a Saudi boy. Specialist Hodges with some Saudi children. Specialist Billy Hodges with a Saudi boy. The kids would sometimes like put our helmets on. Myself with some children, a Saudi soldier in the background. Myself with 2 children in the lobby of the King Fahd Hotel. They were from Kuwait. These are children as we bring the prisoners through would wave at us and give us victory signs through the town. It'd be like a parade when we come through. There I am shopping in Hofalbach, smoking another Havana cigar. I've got a shepherd boy with his sheep on the back of a Nissan. There I am with two storekeepers. You go in a lot of stores, they'd want you to pose for pictures with them, and then also I'd get them to pose too. There they are waving again at us. Sergeant Walkoff with some children. There's the victory sign again to the front. There I am with a Saudi and his family. I asked for a picture, and he sent his wife out of the picture. Sergeant Walkoff, and if you look behind him, there's two Saudi Arabian women in the background looking. They didn't want us taking pictures of them. There they are giving the victory sign again. There I am teaching Saudi children how to play softball. There's some women and children after they've been shopping in Saudi. One little girl's got a Barbie doll. Another picture of me in Hofalbach. Sergeant Walkoff shopping in downtown Hoffa. Another picture in Hofalbach. Looks like a flea market on the side of the road. They do a lot of that in Saudi Arabia too. There we are eating in a restaurant in Hofalbach. Sergeant Walkoff, Specialist Harless and I. There in the town square of Hofalbach. Fountain that has no water. This is how we got rid of our sewage system was set up. This was a detail. This was our tent out in the desert. The flag that I carried over. Also the signs we made up to Rocky Gap and different parts, Peterstown and Yeager and different places the guys came from. This is Sergeant Thornton with some children and a camel that's out grazing where there's a little bit of grass. Sergeant Thornton again. This specialist stump was a flag that was sent over to us from the, I think it was from the Bluefield Chamber of Commerce. This is church service out in the desert. We had a little piece of plywood set up in the back, and a lot of times different people would help. It was the services. This is our pews that we had set up for church service. This is Reverend Smith, our chaplain. There I am dressed up again at the Saddam Hussein lynching. This is Specialist Meadows and Specialist Ritter in their tent. Church service again. Another picture. This is, we drug down the desert with some pallets and sandbags and pulled it with a vehicle and made us a softball field. Towards the end of the war, we spent a lot of time playing softball. Really helped pass the time. There I am pitching to a Saudi soldier trying to teach him how to hit the ball. Another picture of our game there. This is a Chinook helicopter coming in for a landing. A runway up in Raw, excuse me. This is a plane that's called like a tank killer. Carries bombs to attack tanks. Just more pictures of them. We're getting, this is a plane, C-130, I think, coming in for a landing. And there it is coming on in past that helicopter. That's one of our men on top of one of the tanks, captured tanks. This is some captured equipment, an Iraqi tank, a Jeep, and a truck. This was a museum set up by the first CAF. As you can read, the display was donated thanks to the people of Iraq. There I am on top of one of the captured tanks. That's down inside of one of the tanks. Inside is some more of their captured equipment, the seats they had. Some of the other guys climbing on the equipment there. Still more people checking out the captured equipment. That's a Jeep and a motorcycle and a little anti-aircraft gun there, I think. I think that's the B-72. That's the big Republican Guard tank there. More of us on the tank. I'm sitting down in the driver's seat there. Kind of a tight fit down in it. That's the B-72, the big Republican Guard tank. There I am with Specialist DeHaven and Harless and Joey Bain in front of one of their equipment. Marshal Harless looking out the hatch. A line of captured equipment there. All this came out of Iraq. Some more of their equipment. More pictures of us again. The entrance to it. It could carry probably 8 or 9 troops, a whole squad in the back of that vehicle. It's Marcus Smith from Narrows, Virginia. Some of the taped up signs on the equipment. Philip Bowles on the front of the barrel there from Yeager, West Virginia. Sergeant Thornton. There we are all loaded up again on Sergeant Thornton and one of the soldiers from the 1st Cat. I think it's a British soldier standing there at the front. There I am on a C5. That's a pilot's seat. That's the control panel of C5. Navigator's board. This is a picture taken behind the seats in the cockpit there. One of the pilots. This is on one of the planes. I think this is on a C-130. You're on a C-130. You're going down the KKMC. Specialist Lee, Radford policeman. He's in Radford. C-130 on flight down to King Cod Military City. There I am sitting up in the cockpit. There's a C-130. There we are. I'm snapping pictures as we're hitting the runway back down in Dhahran. You can see the fighters on the side there as we come down on the runway. This is a picture of one of the mosques, the prayer buildings along the Persian Gulf there. This is a close-up of that mosque. You can see they built some real beautiful buildings. Another picture of it. There was a sign there where you're not supposed to take pictures, but we sneaked them anyway. You see that sign is right in front of the walkway there. Some of the flowers that were growing down on the Persian Gulf, they'd irrigate and run water systems to grow the flowers. There's two Muslims going up into the mosque. You had to be Muslim to enter. This is a picture trying to take of another mosque while we were going down the road. This is another mosque. This one's in KKMC, and they also had a very large one, which you'll see. This is a very large one, the biggest one they had there. There's about 10 or 12 smaller ones around it. A helicopter getting ready to land out in the desert. There we are training the Saudis after the war was over to stomp and drag and riot control so they could take over the POW camps when we left. We were training them during Ramadan, and a lot of times they wouldn't show up until 12 o'clock up in the day. They were mostly National Guard, and a lot of them came to work driving Mercedes-Benz. Specialists really checking out their weapons and showing them how to hold them in a riot situation. Myself showing them how to form up. Self-observing them. We are teaching them how to make a wedge formation. These are pictures taken up in Kuwait. This is on the Kuwaiti border, and so on the Saudi side. This is a Saudi soldiers' fighting position. These are some of the oil fires that they put in the ditches and said that they would burn when we came in. A lot of the trenches were laying full and ran for miles with oil in them, which they never got to burn. These are some of their vehicles that were called out in the desert by our fighter jets. These are some of the culverts. This is a culvert. They blow all the culverts to try to slow us up in going into Kuwait. More vehicles along the road. And you can also see the Kuwaitis are so wealthy they even put sidewalks out in the deserts in some places. This is some of the concertina and barbed wire that they strung out to try to slow us up. There was also booby traps in this area. This is more of their wire strung out. Some of it was quite primitive. These are some of the mines that have been dug up on the border there, where they placed mines. This is a ship up in Kuwait City. It was a luxury ship, and it had a restaurant in it. This is Sergeant Sokoli on this ship, and they had also mounted anti-aircraft guns on top of it for the war. A store in downtown Kuwait City. Everything had been vandalized. This is another picture. As you can see, they burnt and took anything of value out of a lot of it. This was a hotel that was set across the street from the Kuwaiti airport. You can see the oil fires burning in the background. And this is some of the fencing along the road. You can see there's a lot of desert in Kuwait too. This is C5 at the Kuwaiti airport. Notice how dingy it looks around there. That day it was real foggy from all the oil fires burning. As you can see there, the top of that building's burned out. But the oil fires made everything dingy. They rode through the cities and shot the walls up and anything they could shoot at too. This is a auto dealership in Kuwait City. Been hit with something from the top. More pictures of destroyed buildings in Kuwait City. And it's from a tower at the Kuwait airport. As you can see the dinginess in the air from the oil fires burning. Some days it'd be worse than others. The sign says, "Thanks for Bush and the American people." And it's also wrote in Arabic. It's evidently been done by some of the Kuwaitis. This is Kuwaiti International Hotel, where NBC and CNN and all of them stayed at. Right across the street was the U.S. Embassy. This is downtown Kuwait City. As you can see the burn scars on the buildings. This is the bubbles that they talked about in Kuwait City. The park they had set up. You can see where a round had been shot into that building to the front. More damaged vehicles on the roads. The Iraqis took all the tires and stuff off the vehicles. They stripped everything they could to take back to Iraq. This is the station you come into as you go into Kuwait City. wire along the border line. Again, he strung it for miles and miles in some area. This picture was taken inside the Kuwait International Hotel where they had the battle. This is destroyed parts of the airport. You can see where they shot all the windows out. Inside the lobby of the Kuwait airport, escalator out of the front, burns, stains all over the wall. This is where a round was shot into the airport, holding the wall of it. As you can see from the airport there, you can see the oil fires burning in the background. There's a French soldier to the back. This is later on when we were back again, a construction worker working on the airport. This is Scott DeHaven up in the control tower of the Kuwaiti Hotel. This is on the runway of the airport. This is a British soldier in the foreground there, and some of the buildings destroyed at the airport, hangar buildings. Another picture of the hotel across the street. I think it was called Hotel California, is the name of it. And the fires burning in the background on a clear day. Control tower of the airport. You can see where round has gone into the building there to the right upper part of that building. There I am out on the runway. You can see some of the burn stains on the Kuwaiti airport background. Another shot on the runway. Another shot from up top. Just climbing one of the towers at the airport so I can get some better pictures taken. There's the old fires burning. You'll also notice in the lower right hand corner one of the planes that the Iraqis destroyed when they took it, the airport. The French plane to the left. On the right is some of those towers that I climbed to take some of the pictures. Another shot of the airport. Sergeant Dotson and myself in front of one of the destroyed planes at the airport. There's still a lot of debris and stuff laying out on the runways. Shot. This is from another time I was back and things were more cleared up that day. This is from my first visit, the destroyed plane, one of them. Some of the debris out on the runway still laying. This is another plane destroyed out on the runway. We were back the second time, a lot of the planes and stuff had been cleared up. Sergeant Walkoff and I. That's the same picture of the same plane that was in one of the world newspapers after the war. This is from the road of death, the road to Iraq. These pictures are where they were pinned in between Kuwait City and the Iraqi border. Sergeant Dotson walking. Several of the other troops walking along the road. This is where you first started. destroyed armor equipment. It was a 4-lane road, and at the time, some of this has been cleared this time we went through, and all 4 lanes were going out of Kuwait City. That's looking back on Kuwait City from a hill, and you can see a lot of the destroyed vehicles along that road. Some of them would try to run off in the desert. More destroyed vehicles. A lot of debris on the sides of the roads. That's one of their tanks that took a direct hit. Clean through it. A lot of this equipment, they still have bodies left in. Another one of their tanks. More destroyed vehicles along the road. There's a lot of ammunition laying out on the road. You have to watch where you stepped at. This is a picture of some of it. Some of theirs they were taken back. It's a picture of myself in front of some of the destroyed equipment. Some of it had been blown in several directions. One of their burnt-out tanks, you can still see the ammunition belt sitting over across the tops of the machine gun. Some areas were just totally on fire, had been on fire. More equipment. This picture was Sergeant Horn in the front, acting like he's directing traffic. He's in the left-hand corner. Myself in front of a Iraqi burnout tank. Sergeant Townley in front of one of their tanks. Ammunition laying out on the road. Scott DeHaven, Brian Bowman, and Billy Hodge, and myself holding up an ammunition belt. They tried to take clothes and everything that they could take back to Iraq. You can see a lot of it just laying out on places. Some of the GIs had spray cans and they kind of painted some messages there. Sergeant Thornton, Randy Horn, and myself on top of a tank. Some kind of small armored vehicle the Iraqis had. More pictures of the tanks. This looks like a mobile operations center that was set up the Iraqis had in the back of a truck. One of their tanks with a shell on the front of it laying out on the ground. You see the shell better here. This is one of their fighting positions they had up on a hill near the Iraqi border. They would have two sides, so you can see the concrete blocks in it. They would well built as far as that good, had good location, and with a ground attack by itself probably would have been hard to take some of the positions. Scott DeHaven, Billy Hodge, and Brian Bowman. This is like a lot of the food. Those are potatoes in the back of a truck. They tried to steal all the food they could out of Kuwait too. There's more debris. Some of the stuff you couldn't even make out what it was. That's one of their flamethrowers laying down on the ground. There's one truck fully loaded with AK-47s all burned up in it, rifles. You can see the Air Force didn't leave much of their equipment damaged. These are pictures taken of the EPWs. This is a sign of the prisoner of war camp. Towards the end, we had a sign put out front, no vacancies. That sign also will leave a light on for you first. This is pictures of EPW camp at night. As you can see, the lights all lighting it up around it. Later on in here, you can hear the prisoners talking. This is one of the Iraqi prisoners close up. As you can see, the stress and all on his face. A lot of them were very worn down from all the bombing they've been through. More pictures of him. The one in the back there, I kind of nicknamed him Tom Selleck. He groomed himself quite a bit. Worrying about his hair. This is along the road taking some back in buses. Back view of the bus. This is the back of a cattle car, and you can see the concertina wire around the outside edges there about them jumping. These are just some of the buses that we haul some of the prisoners. A lot of times we would haul 800 at a time. These are some of the cattle cars. This is a picture of the cattle car with a lot of the prisoners on. And, convoys of them going through the desert. More pictures of them. We really didn't have a lot of problems with the prisoners. We made it understood right off that we would no longer look at them as targets. We looked at them as human beings, and we expected them to act like human beings. This picture was taken up in Iraq when we went up to get some prisoners there. Some of them on cattle cars. A lot of them spoke very good English. English is one of the things taught in school. That's a Humvee in front of some of the cattle cars of prisoners. We escorted a Republican Guard and the soldiers who were drafted. This is some of the prisoners coming off the back of a helicopter. We were marching back into the camp. This is some of them coming back on a bus. As you can see, some of them had been wounded. This is a character named Bob Hope, the one winking. you'll hear some of these tapes later on, and with conversations I had with him. He was quite a character. More pictures of prisoners. Let's let you hear some of them talking now.
1962. 1962. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. You'll be 29 years old. Yeah. He's 43 years old. 43, 44. Sylvester Stallone, fighting Vietnam War. He goes to Switzerland to get out of Vietnam War. So he knows rap. He never been in war either. Reagan? Después ha estado en Trump. Yeah. Yeah. Just picture, that's all. Yeah. I know. Madonna's good. Ronald Reagan? Yes. All movies? Yeah. Reagan? Yeah. Yeah, I like his cowboy movie. I say Saddam Hussein see cowboy movies and then he try to act cowboy. Cowboy for people I think we watched too many of them movies. John Kennedy? Yeah. John Kennedy, good president. He's good people. Nixon, he not no good. A lot of people didn't like Nixon. They like Kennedy, I know.
No, like people talking. Abuse, no.
Yeah.
But he used any purpose. For things, bombs, rocks, yes, no. So like Kennedy, but you can.
It's Prince Vander with the prisoners. He's eventually signed the prisoners. He signed them over to him with the Saudi Arabians. And he would go down and talk to the prisoners a lot. And here he is in front of his Jeep with his cellular phone. He would try to unite the Arabic Brotherhood, is what they called it, and try to treat them the best he could, and give them opportunities to stay in Saudi Arabia if they wished. We'll go back to the prisoners talking now.
Please tell Mr. President you are done. Iraqi people need saving.
I know they need saving.
Mr. Bush can save us.
I hope Bush would go ahead, but he should stop there. I don't know.
It's politics.
Politics. We're soldiers. They're politics.
In my left voice.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. We're all soldiers.
And how about that? If person is not coming, his family will come.
I can't see. I was in Vietnam. I can't see why we didn't do this in Vietnam.
Yes.
I stayed in Vietnam for 1 year, fighting in Vietnam, and American government would ban and go on and do it. Ready? How do you say, God be with you, 100, how do you pronounce that? God be with you. Okay. Thank you. Hope you go home soon. Good night. They said that Saddam Hussein requested asylum from Algeria, Jordan, and they said that he wanted asylum. And they said no.
We're explaining to him there about the situation of the war that they're going
From here, you go to a study camp, it's a study camp for Africans only. For Africans only, and it's good. It's very close to here. Yeah, you go now, you'll be there in half an hour. Yes, that building.
These are some of the pictures of the camels and the animals over there. You can see where after the rain it peeled the sand up. If you'll notice there how the sand's peeled up. It crumbled, but the way it lay on top until the sun would eventually absorb it. As you can see, their fences, they would make makeshift fences with just about anything they could find around. More of the camels out in the desert. It's a Saudi soldier on top of the camel. You saw me earlier on one. Myself was a Saudi soldier with a camel. And he is posing for the camera. A certain way the Saudis would hit them with a stick on the knees and they would sit down for you. There's one with a little bit of personality with Sergeant Thornton. Must have liked one of his songs. There's one getting ready to kiss Marcus Smith. There I am on a donkey where I fell off from it. He didn't particularly want me on him, evidently. I'm out with some sheep herders. These pictures were kind of reversed. Sergeant Walkoff just kept snapping pictures. There I am on top of the donkey before I got dumped off. Sergeant Thornton with the bird down in Daharan. More camels. They'd look for any place where they could graze at. Some of the sheep, there's a lot of Saudis stay out in the desert with their sheep. That was the only cow I saw in Saudi Arabia. Sergeant Thornton with some sheep, and you can notice there's a baby one in the background, a white one. More pictures taken out with the shepherds out on the desert. It's a sheep herder with his flock. talk about the Texas tumbleweeds. There'll be a lot of them around. Some British soldiers with Brian Bowman and Billy Hodge. There's a baby lamb, what do they call the camel. He's getting ready to do something to the baby, and the mother was throwing a fit. Another one likes to pose for the camera. That's the extension onto our tent out in the desert. We started expanding there a little bit on our home. That's me in my bedroom, I imagine. You can barely see our flag on the top there. It looks like a black spot from where all the oil had drifted down from Kuwait. That's inside our tent. There we are, getting ready to get a card game up or something. That's Marshall Harless taking a little sleep during the day here after working the night before. Sergeant Dotson and some Brits doing some trading. The man on the right is a Brit. He's traded his shirt for a coat there. That's Ricky Poff that got powdered up there a little bit. They pulled the trick on him. Scott DeHaven out front of the tent. As you can see, as the sand came in, we had put that was our bathroom. And you can see a truckload of prisoners in the background, American flag on top of it. Me during laundry day, doing my laundry. As you can see, we had to do our own laundry. There I am inside our tent, hanging up some of the laundry on the inside. That's Sergeant Townley taking a little nap. He'd wake up a few times during the day. That's a Baskin Robbins truck that would come around every now and then, sell us ice cream, but they wanted about $3 a cup. That's a Wolf Burger, which was set up to give the American soldiers hamburgers like along the road. That's outside the POW camp, Sergeant Walkoff and myself. Sergeant Thornton taking a little nap down at the holding area. Myself, after I hit a door down in Daharan, was walk-through doors inside our home. The sunset out in the desert. This was tent cleaning day. We were trying to clean some of the sand off the tent. Did it assault style.